Here's your news for June 29th, 2020, and your headlines for today include: why WWE decided to book a swamp fight match at Extreme Rules 2020, how close is WWE to signing Tessa Blanchard, an old resurfaced video of Paige confirms all the allegations against her family, two released WWE stars offered deals by Impact Wrestling, WWE forced to figure out new Extreme Rules lineup, Renee hypes a big fat announcement, WWE Megastar and a former 6-time WWE champion is hospitalized, new date for WWE Hall of Fame 2020, and more. We're kicking off with some news regarding Extreme Rules The Horror Show, as Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt will compete in a Wyatt Swamp match. While the match was confirmed on SmackDown, what stuck out to fans is that this won't be for Strowman's Universal title, and now more details have emerged for the reason behind this. According to a report by Ringside News, the WWE is stalling, as the non-title match will lead to a more high-profile match down the line between the two. Though this apparent third match between the pair hasn't been announced, it's likely it'll take place at SummerSlam, presumably with the Universal title on the line. It was also noted that WWE's long-term plans keep changing at this moment, and that the Swamp match will also feature Wyatt's many personalities. Described as a modern-day version of the Three Faces of Foley, fans will have to wait and see what Wyatt has in store when he welcomes Strowman to his swamp on July 19th. We've got news from Tessa Blanchard next, as following her firing from Impact, things are looking up for the former world champion. It's been reported that WWE has sent out feelers to Blanchard, and according to Alex McCarthy of TalkSport, it's likely that she'll land in the WWE instead of AEW, despite her father working in Tony Khan's promotion. Shortly before her World Championship win, a lot of stories from Blanchard's past came out, which might hinder her moving to AEW at the present moment, though WWE seems to be a different story. It was also reported that even after these claims were made public, Blanchard was still loved by the Impact Wrestling fans, and given her past in WWE, including being a part of the first Mae Young Classic, fans can expect Impact's first female world champion in WWE in the near future. It's highly unlikely we'll see Blanchard at Extreme Rules The Horror Show, and according to reports, many stars will be missing from next month's pay-per-view. It's being reported that the card for this show will not be 100% presented as originally intended, and a source from WWE said how it's hard for anyone outside of the company to understand just how bad things are in WWE. As of right now, only 4 matches have been announced, and we'll have to see what matches and changes will be announced in the coming weeks. We're looking at the recent movement to make wrestling a safer environment behind the scenes, as plenty of WWE superstars and indie stars have faced claims of wrongdoing. John Alba reports that the WWE pulled an NXT contract offer from a wrestler they were looking to bring in due to claims against them, though Alba didn't mention the wrestler's name. There was sadly no shortage of names from the indie scene that are involved in this, as more names are coming forward about their own alleged experiences in the wrestling world. Alba went on to explain that this person he's referencing isn't someone under contract, but was someone who was supposed to be signed and then wasn't. The goal of all this is to create a safer environment for everyone in the wrestling world, and it seems like that means one person who has allegedly hurt people didn't get a bigger spotlight. One group who have faced multiple claims are Paige's family, the Knights, which has led to Saraya Knight leaving the industry, whilst her daughter has spoken about how much her family meant to British wrestling. Though Saraya has defended her family, fans are now recalling an interview with Paige that certainly doesn't make the family seem innocent. Speaking about a story that ultimately made its way into Daniel Bryan's book, Paige spoke on an interview on the Stone Cold podcast about when the future WWE champion was booked to work with the Knights in 2003. She said, "Bryan walked into the locker room, and he had to find his own way there, and he says, I just see these two guys, and one guy's holding the other behind the back like this, and the other one's punching him in the stomach like this. He says, 'Hey guys, I'm Bryan, da-da-da-da,' and my dad says, 'Oh hey, I'm Ricky Knight,' and then he turns and continues punching this guy in the stomach. Then Bryan leaves and he comes back and he sees my dad and brother dangling this guy out the window by his feet. They were like 4 stories in the air." Later on, people were apologizing to Bryan about what he'd seen, and it was explained that the person being attacked had said something about the Knight family and had received a beating for it. Whilst the claims against the Knights hadn't included this story, it does serve as an illustration of how they went about things, and it needs to be noted that Paige herself hasn't faced any claims of wrongdoing. We are looking back at the WWE 2020 Hall of Fame that never happened as a stacked class, including JBL, the Bellas, Davey Boy Smith, Jushin Thunder Liger, and the NWO have all yet to receive their Hall of Fame rings. Now, Wrestling News has stated that fans could look forward to seeing the class of 2020 be inducted during SummerSlam weekend, saying it's very possible, though the exact date is still to be determined. This may have some problems of its own, as the Bella twins may be unable to make it to the biggest party of the summer, as both are pregnant at this time, and trying to stay healthy in this current situation is extra important to them. Of course, WWE could always mail the rings to anyone who can't make the ceremony, and time will tell just when exactly these stars take their place in the Hall of Fame. Now, this month hasn't been a good one for Renee Young, who not only tested positive, but had her show WWE Backstage cancelled. Fortunately, things seem to be looking up for her, as on Twitter, Young tweeted that she has a huge announcement, but didn't say what it was. Whilst one fan speculated that she's either recovered from her positive test, is pregnant, or back in Canada, Young said none of those were true, and we'll have to wait until Wednesday to see what exactly the beloved broadcaster has planned. We're staying across the pond in the UK now, as things aren't looking good for the NXT UK brand. It's been reported that following several claims of wrongdoing, many of which have been confirmed by UK superstars, that the WWE are considering shutting down the brand that was established in 2016. According to Tom Colohue of Sportskeeda, more names in the NXT UK brand are under investigation after the release of El Ligero and Travis Banks. Colohue added that if the NXT UK brand was to end, most of the remaining UK talent would be simply moved to NXT, helping to pad out the Gold brand, as more established stars would be moved to Raw and SmackDown. The recent claims against NXT UK superstars isn't the only issue with the UK brand, as Vince McMahon is reportedly unhappy about how the show has been a financial strain for quite some time. It's also been reported that aside from takeover events, the show has been unprofitable for a while, and given these money issues and the recent claims against several NXT UK superstars, the WWE may not have a choice but to shut the brand down. One person who is no stranger to controversy is Hulk Hogan, who is unfortunately back in the hospital. The Hulkster revealed this over Twitter, and whilst he didn't specify the reason why, Hogan's multiple back surgeries over the past few years may be the reason. Recently, Hogan's been saying that he's been moving around a lot better after the last back surgery several months ago, and we'd like to wish the Hall of Famer a very speedy recovery. From one legend to another now, as Kane has been kept busy as the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, but had to take a break recently. The Big Red Machine, who operates in office as Glenn Jacobs, was forced to pull out of a Liberty and Lobsters fundraiser for Eric Brakey after suffering from an undisclosed health issue. It wasn't stated what Kane was suffering from, but his campaign noted in an official release that it wasn't anything too serious. Brakey is running to represent Maine's 2nd Congressional District, and while Kane was meant to be there, as he's known for his impressive work ethic, his health comes first, especially during these unpredictable times. Moving on, WWE is gearing up for Extreme Rules on July 19th, and they announced 2 segments for Raw next week that will prepare fans for the next show. A double contract signing is promoted for next week's episode of Raw. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler will have a contract signing to make their WWE title match at Extreme Rules official, but that's not all. Sasha Banks and Asuka will also sign their contract for their Raw Women's title match. The preview also asked if Seth Rollins has crossed the line or whether he will continue to wreak havoc on the Mysterio family. All that and more is expected for Raw next week, but they haven't filmed the episode yet. Next up, WWE Friday Night SmackDown didn't have a match until 45 minutes into the show because of a tribute to The Undertaker. When they did get around to having a match, it made a big difference to Extreme Rules. Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross were in a fatal 4-way for a #1 contender spot. The winner got a SmackDown Women's title match at Extreme Rules. In the end, Nikki Cross secured the victory and won the match. Now she'll face Bayley at Extreme Rules on July 19th. Bayley didn't seem too pleased about this. Now, we've spoken a lot about the company's recent positive tests, but it seems that isn't going to stop the company from looking at opening up to actual fans again. Following these recent tests, the WWE did away with friends and family at tapings, especially after Bryan Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Live that he's heard a couple of the friends and family invited to the Performance Center have also tested positive. Now, Fightful is reporting that WWE has been planning for weeks to make moves outside of the Performance Center in Full Sail, and these planned events would take place in front of real fans. Their report went on to say that social distancing would be implemented at a venue that's apparently already been contacted, and that Lakeland's RP Funding Center, which is about an hour from Orlando and has hosted Ring of Honor events in the past, has been listed as a possible venue. This report went on to say that a few superstars have heard about this plan as well, as though plans can always change, especially in this unpredictable time. It's clear that WWE is inkling closer to running events in front of actual fans again. It was not noted how the recent influx in positive cases might change those plans, so fans will have to wait and see whether WWE hosts any shows in front of fans in the near future. And finally, today we're ending with news from SmackDown, as this week's show saw King Corbin suffer another loss, this time to Jeff Hardy, before being beat down by Big E, Braun Strowman, and Matt Riddle. Fans may remember that the King of Bros and the Long Wolf have a history, as they clashed at Survivor Series 2019, and it was Corbin who eliminated Riddle in this year's Men's Royal Rumble match. According to Gary Cassidy of Sportskeeda, his sources have said that Corbin only found out about the plans for their feud recently and wasn't very happy about it, saying that the former NXT Tag Team Champion should have to defeat 5 enhancement talents before moving on to him. Cassidy went on to say that Riddle's first post-NXT feud was always the King, as evidenced by their interactions at Survivor Series and the Rumble. Whilst the King may not be too happy about facing Riddle, fans can chalk it up to the bad luck he received after smashing a mirror at Money in the Bank, and we can expect to see plenty more interactions between the King of Bros and the King of the Ring in the coming weeks and months. And finally, today we're ending with news from Sasha Banks, as the Women's Tag Team Champion will be challenging Raw Women's Champion Asuka at Extreme Rules The Horror Show. But the opportunity to become a 5-time Raw Women's Champion isn't the only thing on the boss's mind. In a promo on Twitter, Banks, referring to herself as Sasha 3 Shows, challenged NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai for a match at the Great American Bash. Sasha went on to say that NXT wouldn't exist without her, and that Shirai's rent is due, and if the match goes ahead, Bayley will be in her tag team partner's corner. While the match hasn't been booked yet, it looks likely that Sasha 3 Shows will be appearing at the Bash, and whether the NXT Women's title is on the line or not, it looks like this Wednesday's edition of NXT just got a bit bigger. Now recently, WWE producer Tyson Kidd arrived at the Performance Center with a fever, and after he and his wife Natalya were sent home, there were some concerns about whether he'd tested positive. After certain news outlets said that he had, though, the former tag champion took to Twitter to call out, quote, irresponsible journalism, saying he was tested twice and both tests were negative. It's good to hear that Kidd tested negative, as hopefully he'll be back at the Performance Center this week. And we're ending with news from another Hart family member, as Bret Hart has announced a new web series. The new show, Confessions of the Hitman, can be found on Bret's website, with the 35 episodes available for just $35. And given his lengthy career and incredible life, we're sure the excellence of execution will have plenty to say, as more episodes are to be uploaded weekly.